So today we are going to discuss this chapter, molecular basis of inheritance, and the specific topic that I am going to discuss is this 6.6.1, which is mutations and genetic code. So let me show you the topic in your NCERT textbook. It is 6.6.1, mutations and genetic code. So this is the topic that we are going to discuss today. Now keep in mind something very clearly here. We are discussing mutations with respect to the genetic code, and this is for the NEET syllabus. It is a huge and vast topic, so I will not be going or dwelling into the unnecessary details here. I have also discussed mutations slightly in the chapter that is the principles of inheritance, that is the chapter number 1 of your genetics part in your class 12th NCERT textbook. There also we have discussed slightly about mutations, so you must see the two videos in totality, and then you will understand basically what mutations are all about. So now I am going to limit myself to the discussion that is being given in the NCERT, where I would be discussing mutations with respect to the genetic code. You know that once we are able to understand the impact of mutations on the genetic code, and this is the genetic code that we want to translate into proteins, we will be ready for the actual to study the actual process of translation. We have already studied the transfer RNA molecule, we have already studied the structure of the ribosome, we have already studied about the genetic code that needs to be translated. Now what is left is the mutation and the impact on the mutation on the genetic code. So this is very specifically that I am going to discuss today. Now let us begin with the basic concept. What exactly is a mutation? So everybody who is watching this video is very comfortable with this word, and you know that mutation is broadly defined as a sudden inheritable change in DNA. Now this is a very broad definition, so we are saying that it is a sudden inheritable change in DNA. So what changes in DNA? Obviously DNA is a polymer, it is made up of nucleotides. So DNA, we know, is a nucleic acid, is a polynucleotide, and genetic code is nothing but a sequence of deoxyribonucleotides that are written on DNA, or correspondingly the sequence of ribonucleotides that are actually written on the transcript of this particular DNA, what is termed as the messenger RNA. So we know that the change in the nucleotides on the DNA, and as a consequence of that, the corresponding change in the complementary sequence that will be present on the messenger RNA would constitute a mutation. So when there is a change in one or two base pair, we call it as a gene or point mutation. So this is what we will be discussing basically in this video. So we are looking at the mutations which are not very large scale, we are looking at the mutations which are small scale, or we are trying to call it as a gene mutation or a point mutation. The point word actually tells us that the magnitude is very small and there is a change of one or two base pairs either on DNA or the corresponding complementary sequence on RNA. I hope this thing is absolutely clear. So again, a change in the sequence of nucleotides on DNA or a corresponding change in the nucleotides of RNA would be termed as mutation, but primarily it has to happen in the DNA, because for the simple reason that RNA is actually a transcript of DNA. Basically the genetic information is stored in this biomolecule which is known as deoxyribonucleic acid. I hope this fundamental definition is absolutely clear. Now what causes mutation? There are several causes of mutation, but we will limit ourselves again to this particular concept. And I have already talked about in the previous chapter about what is known as spontaneous mutation. We have already discussed the concept of spontaneous mutation during DNA replication. So we know that when DNA polymerase replicates DNA or synthesizes a new complementary strand on the template of DNA, then it adds deoxyribonucleotides in a complementary manner. And when it is adding deoxyribonucleotides to synthesize a new strand of the DNA molecule, then there is a rate of error. Though the DNA polymerase has a very high fidelity rate, but we knew that in 1 in 10 to the power 6 or 10 to the power 7 there is an error of adding a correct nucleotide, and this is what is termed as spontaneous mutation. So spontaneous mutations, they occur at a low rate. So they are constantly occurring at a low rate. There will always be mutations in DNA whenever the DNA is replicated, especially at the time of meiosis. So you know a particular type of cell division is called as meiosis. So I am saying especially in times of meiosis, but I am not saying that it is not going to happen before mitosis. We know before cell division there is DNA replication, and then during DNA replication the work of DNA polymerase is there, and this is the error rate during replication of DNA polymerase. We are calling it as a spontaneous mutation. So this is one mechanism by which mutations can be caused. There may be other causes as well. Say for example the non-ionizing radiations. So non-ionizing radiations like ultraviolet radiations. So DNA being exposed to UV radiations, this may be a cause of mutation in DNA. Now what exactly happens when UV radiations get exposed to DNA, or DNA is exposed to UV radiation? There is formation of what is known as thymine dimers. So thymine dimers are being formed, and when thymine dimers are formed, then the enzymes try to repair it. So there is an excision and repair of DNA. So if the DNA is damaged because of some, say for example, radiation, so it is not necessary that it will remain so. First and foremost, your enzyme system will try to correct the error that has been produced in the DNA due to the exposure of the radiation, and this is called as an excision and repair mechanism. And during this there may be some anomaly, and that anomaly may be left, and if that anomaly occurs and is left there without correction, then it is also termed as a mutation. Similarly, we have also discussed that carcinogens, the agents which are capable of causing cancers, they are all mutagens except for the perhaps exception of asbestos fibers. So all carcinogens are mutagens. So cancer is essentially a genetic disease caused by multiple mutational events. So all carcinogens are mutagens. I am reminding you that the reverse is not true. So let me get it again. I am saying all carcinogens are mutagens. That means the cancer causing agents actually cause cancer by causing mutations in the resident genes of the genome, and they are actually multiple mutational events. This is one of the reasons why I discussed that generally speaking cancer is a disease of old age, because it will take time to accumulate a large number of mutations leading to carcinogenesis. But the reverse is not true, which means all mutagens are not necessarily carcinogen and are actually not. So I hope this thing is absolutely clear. So there are so many mechanisms. There are other mechanisms as well. Sometimes the virus can deliver some mobile genetic element, say for example, and then it may lead to generation of a mutation. But there are so many causes, but this is the broad thing that we are looking, that there may be spontaneous mutation, there will be some mutagens that will actually cause mutation. One of the prime example, as I told you, would be the UV radiation. We talked about carcinogens as well. Other radiation, say for example gamma rays, they are also responsible for creation of mutation. So now we have a broad idea that what exactly is a mutation, and we know that what actually causes mutation. Again, we have a broad idea on this. So now let us consider with respect to the genetic code. So let us see what happens to the genetic code if the sequence of nucleotides and on DNA actually get altered. So for that to happen, let me first write what is called as an open reading frame, if you remember the term. So I am writing a sequence of ribonucleotides. So I am writing a sequence of messenger RNA, a hypothetical messenger RNA that we will presume has been transcribed from a particular structural gene that was present on the DNA template. So let us think over it. Let me say messenger RNA are formed from their 5' end. So let us say the first codon on messenger RNA will always be the initiator codon. So you know about AUG. I have already told you AUG has dual role. One, it is the initiator codon, and number two, it codes for methionine. Let us write some other codons. GUG. So let us write the homopolymers first. Let us say AAA, CCC, UUU. Remember, these are messenger RNA codons that I am writing. And let us say GGG, then GAG, UGG. Let us write one more, UAC, and let us write UAG, which is the stop codon, and this is the 3' sequence. So I will like you to understand that what I have done. I have written the sequence of a transcript. This is the messenger RNA molecule, that is the final transcript that has been formed on the template of DNA. We know that messenger RNA is transcribed from 5' end to 3' end, and obviously the DNA template on which it was transcribed would be something like this. So we can write it. It will always be complementary and they will be anti-parallel. So that means you will have TAC, you will have T, you will have G, you will have A, and then you know it will be C, and then C, then it will be A, C, then this would be A and T and G, A, T and G, and this would be A, this would be T, and this would be C. So this would be the template of the DNA on which this particular messenger RNA was transcribed. Now let us write the open reading frame. Let us read this template of DNA and the corresponding codon that is present on the messenger RNA, and see what will be the amino acids that will be present in the peptide formed by the translation of this hypothetical messenger RNA molecule. So if I am reading a nucleic acid, you know that I am reading an open reading frame, and you know that it is read in a contiguous manner. There are no punctuation marks, and it is comma-less. So this is absolutely clear, and there is no overlapping between the letters of the genetic code. So all these properties I have discussed in detail in the video on genetic code itself. So we should be able to do it now very comfortably. So I am saying that on DNA, so if I am writing it is the sequence on DNA, I will start with 3'. The first codon would be TAC. This is the first codon. The second codon immediately starts after this. None of the letter will be wasted. There will be no overlap. So the second would be TTT, and then there would be GGG, then AAA, and CCC, and then there would be CTC, and then ACC, and ATG, and ATC. These are the DNA codons that I have written. Actually, the codons are present on the coding strand, so I am just taking the liberty of calling them the DNA codons, which are actually getting transcribed, though I have told you that the codons will actually be present on the coding strand of the DNA or on the sense strand of the DNA. Now let us look at what will be the corresponding complementary open reading frame of the RNA molecule. So we know I have to write 5'. The first is AUG. This is the first codon. The second codon on the messenger RNA is AAA. The third codon you know is CCC. The fourth codon you know is UUU, and the fifth codon again you are seeing is GGG, and similarly the sixth codon would be GAG, the seventh codon would be UGG. I hope you are getting this. And the eighth codon would be UAC, and the ninth codon would be UAG, and this end would be 3 prime. I hope this thing is absolutely clear. So I have read the template of DNA, and I have read the transcript of this template of DNA. This is the transcript that is going to be translated. So now we know that the peptide would contain methionine. This is the first amino acid. Then you know AAA codes for lysine, CCC codes for proline. We know all the homopolymers. I told you how to remember the codons that are given in your NCERT textbook, the mRNA codons. And UUU, if you remember, was the first codon to be deciphered, and it codes for the amino acid phenylalanine. We know GGG codes for glycine. GAG, if you look at your table, it codes for glutamic acid. UGG, I told you specifically about this codon in that video. I showed you that apart from AUG, this is one codon which is the only codon for an amino acid, and the amino acid that we are talking about is tryptophan. And similarly there would be UAC. So this would be UAC. You know, this is ATG, so there would be UAC. Let me tell you, it is for tyrosine, and then you know this is a stop codon. So that means this codon is a stop codon, so one of the 3 stop codons, and therefore this is the initiator codon, this is the stop codon, and therefore we know that the peptide that would be formed will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 amino acids in it. So it would have, let me write it like this, methionine, it will have lysine, proline, phenylalanine, glycine, glutamic acid, tryptophan, and tyrosine. This would be the peptide that would be synthesized by translating this particular messenger RNA molecule that was actually transcript of this DNA segment. I hope this thing is absolutely clear to everybody. This is a very, very important thing that I am discussing. I hope the concepts are absolutely clear. Now you know how to read the codons that are present, and what is the manner in which genetic code is read. How do you write what is being formed? So this type of question now can easily be done in the NEET entrance exam by us. We are absolutely sure about the basic concepts. Now let us see what happens if there is a change in 1 or 2 base pairs. Now let us come to the mutation aspect of it. So let me pick, say for example, let us say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th codon. So this 5th codon, let me take another color for this just to show you that what we are doing. So we are saying that let us pick this particular codon, and we are saying that DNA gets mutated here, and the mutated triplet becomes CCG. Now let us say that the 3rd base of this triplet gets mutated. So now you can see there is a change in the nucleotide sequence. This is what is called as a mutation. So C has been replaced by G. And now let us look at this particular thing. So we are saying here, this is codon number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And this is the codon that actually has changed. and it has changed to CCG. Now please tell me that what would be the RNA transcript of this. I hope this will be very easy for you. So what will be the RNA transcript? So what will happen if this is CCG? What will be the transcript here? So we know the transcript here would be GGC. So this is the change in the mRNA codon. So there has been a mutation, a base has been changed. A base has been changed, but the changed base was actually the third base of the codon. So you know the original codon was actually GGG. Now it has been replaced by GGC. So therefore you can easily see that there has been a change in the nucleotide sequence on DNA with a corresponding change on the sequence of the codon that is present on the messenger RNA molecule, and we are seeing that GGG has been replaced by GGC. Now let us see what will be the effect of this mutation on the peptide. So we know that the genetic code is degenerate, and that means there may be more than one codons for the same amino acid. And please understand, this degeneracy is normally because of the third code. I told you in genetic code that the degeneracy is normally because of third code degeneracy. So if the third code changes, then if you look at the table that is present in your NCERT, then you will know that even GGC codes for glycine. So this particular codon also codes for glycine, and therefore this amino acid remains here, and the peptide would not be changed at all. So there has been a mutation, there has been a change in the sequence of the nucleotide, a corresponding change in the sequence of the codon, but the change was in the third base of the codon that resulted in the same amino acid getting incorporated into the peptide, and therefore there is no effect of this mutation. And therefore this type of point mutation, now you can understand one, that this is a point mutation. This type of point mutation is called as a same sense, and sometimes also called as a silent mutation. I hope this thing is absolutely clear. So we are looking at the first of the mutations, which is called as same sense or silent mutation. So I am saying silent or same sense because in spite of mutation, the amino acid incorporated into the peptide chain remains the same, doesn't affect the structure of the protein at all, and it does not make any effect, and therefore we are saying that this is same sense or silent. And the reason would be degeneracy of the genetic code, and that degeneracy would be because of the third code being changed. I hope this thing is absolutely clear. So first and foremost, the first thing is absolutely clear to us, that what exactly is a same sense or silent mutation. So now let us look at some other examples here. There may be some other types of mutations as well. So let us pick this one. So let us pick the codon number 6. So this is the codon that we are looking at, and I say that instead of the third base, now let us say that the second base gets mutated or changed. Then you will see that it may be, say for example, CAC. So this is the DNA codon that has been changed as a result of mutation. You can see a point mutation. Obviously there will be a base pair, because we know that DNA is double stranded, and the other strand will also have a nitrogenous base that will make a pair with this, and therefore we are saying in the definition that change in one or two base pairs, this would be called as gene or point mutation. So this has been mutated. Now let us see that what is happening here. This was the sixth codon of DNA that got mutated to CAC. Now there would be a corresponding change in the codon that is present on the messenger RNA, and we are saying that it would be GUG. So you can easily see this CAC will be transcribed into GUG. So now what is going to happen? Will the result be same as that of same sense mutation? It is not the third code that has been changed, and we will see that this GUG actually codes for another amino acid rather than glutamic acid. It codes for valine. So this codes for valine. So now this is very interesting. What has happened, that a base has changed and correspondingly the codon has changed, and because it is not in the third base, the amino acid coded for has already been changed. So this, please see this, the amino acid coded for has been changed. So we are looking at a mutation. So mutation, there is a change in DNA, there is a corresponding change in the RNA, and we are saying that the amino acid coded for has changed. Now that means that instead of glutamic acid at 6th position, this would be having what is known as valine. So this is what is called as valine. So now there is one more very interesting feature to understand here. Glutamic acid, you can understand it is an acid. It is a polar amino acid. Valine is a non-polar amino acid. And because a polar amino acid has been replaced by a non-polar amino acid, that will affect the hydrogen bonding of the peptide structure, and the peptide would be abnormal in structure and hence function. And later on you will see, and actually you have already seen this in the first chapter of genetics as well, that this is the mutation. This is the mutation in the beta chain of hemoglobin molecule of adult human beings that brings about a devastating effect which is called as sickle cell anemia, where glutamic acid is replaced by valine. So therefore a polar amino acid is removed and a non-polar amino acid has been inserted. This results in the altered tertiary structure of the peptide chain and with very serious effects, and this disease is called as sickle cell anemia. So I have taken this for reinforcing the idea of sickle cell anemia as well. So this time what has happened, there has been mutation, the DNA has been altered, correspondingly the RNA molecule has been altered, the codon has been altered, and but the amino acid coded for has changed. So this type of mutation would be called as missense mutations. So this is called as a missense mutation. So please understand, we are talking of the second type of mutation, the topic that we are discussing with respect to genetic code. We must understand what is a missense mutation. Here the amino acid coded for has changed, and normally you will see that the amino acid has a different property from the original amino acid, and therefore will have a profound effect on the structure and function of the peptide, and hence it is appropriately called as a missense mutation. I hope this second type of mutation is absolutely clear to all of you. Now let us further understand more types of mutation with respect to genetic code. Now let me choose another one. So let us say this is the 7th amino acid. So this is the 7th amino acid, and let us say that this one is getting mutated. So this is the 7th codon that is getting mutated. So I was saying amino acid, this is the 7th codon, it gets mutated, and let us say it becomes ATC. So this is what the mutation has occurred, and we are saying the original sequence on DNA was ACC. Now it has been mutated. Can you see that the C has been replaced by T? And let us look here, what is happening here. So this was the codon that we said got mutated, and we said it became ATC. Now let us look what happens. Now let us look what happens on the other side. The corresponding codon on the messenger RNA molecule, it will be also changed. It becomes UAG. and if you remember, this UAG is actually a stop codon, So this time there has been a mutation, there has been a change in the sequence of nucleotides and the DNA. There has been a correspondingly change on the codon sequence on the messenger RNA, and it has resulted in the formation of what is called as a stop codon. And what is going to happen? This is the initiator codon. This will be translated into methionine, and lysine will be there, proline will be there, phenylalanine will be there, there would be glycine as well, and glutamic acid, but there will not be tryptophan. This is where the peptide synthesis will stop, and the peptide will have only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 amino acid, because this has resulted in the formation of a stop codon. Nothing else will be formed in front of that after this, because for the simple reason that the translation begins with AUG, and you will not find AUG later on. So that means this type of mutation has brought an end to the translation by getting incorporated what is called as a messenger RNA stop codon, and therefore the peptide synthesis stops here, and we say that this is called as a nonsense mutation. So there was a very important question that was asked in some entrance. I don't remember specifically which entrance. They said that there are, let us say 50 amino acids. So that means a peptide chain has how many amino acids? 50 amino acid. So there will be correspondingly 50 codons, and they said that the 25th codon on the messenger RNA molecule gets mutated and produces a stop codon. What will be the result? So the result would be that only one peptide will be formed of 24 amino acid, because the 25th codon is a stop codon. So the first codon would be AUG. So only 24 amino acids will be incorporated, and then the peptide synthesis will stop. This thing will not be formed, because again I am saying that there will be no AUG to begin the formation of the next peptide. So only one peptide will be formed, and that peptide would be carrying only 24 amino acid. So I hope you have understood what exactly is a nonsense mutation. So we have seen three very important types of mutation. One, same sense or silent. Second, we have seen what is called as missense mutation, and thirdly we have seen what is called as a nonsense mutation. Now we come to a very important thing, These are called as frame shift mutations. I hope you understand the frame. Repeatedly I am saying that I am reading an open reading frame, so you know what exactly is the frame that we are talking about. I have already read the frames of the two nucleic acids, and I have given you the sequence of the codons that are present on them. I have told you how to read it. I have told you how to write it. So I hope you are absolutely sure about the open reading frame of, say for example, messenger RNA molecule. Now let us see what exactly are frame shift mutations. So now we don't require this, so we are rubbing it off. So I hope the first three type of mutations are absolutely clear. Now I am coming to a very important type of mutations which are called as frame shift mutations. So this is the main mutation that we are actually concerned about. So we are looking at frame shift mutations. Now let us see what does it mean. Suppose I insert one nucleotide pair in DNA, because I am showing only one of these strands, so I am going to insert only one, but there will be a corresponding insertion of the other as well. So please understand, suppose I introduce A here. Let us say okay, so let us do something else. Let us insert, let us say C here for the sake of convenience. So we said that we have introduced a letter C here. Now let us see what happens to the open reading frame. You know the rules of reading. You know the rules of reading the open reading frame. So this time I will read it as 3 prime TAC, it remains same. The second one would be TTT and then GGG. Remember, we have added C here. So the next codon becomes CAA. So the next becomes CAA. So this would be incorporated here. So there is C here. So it becomes CAA, then ACC. So you can easily understand what is happening here. So that means ACC, then there will be CCT, and so on and so forth. I hope this is absolutely clear. There the next would be, let us say, CAC. CAC, then there will be CAT, then there will be GAT and C. So this is how what is happening. So what has happened? So we have introduced a C after this G. We have introduced C, and immediately you can see the devastating effect. From the point of insertion, the open reading frame has changed. This is very, very important to understand. So when I insert a base or base pair, I should say, then what is happening? From the point of insertion, you can see that the open reading frame has changed. So it was GGG originally, then AAA, now it becomes GGG, CAA, ACC, and you can see, because I know how to read the open reading frame, from the point of insertion, the open reading frame has changed. This is very, very important to understand. So this, I hope, is absolutely clear. Now let me do something else here again. So let us rub the messenger RNA molecule as well. We do not require it. Now let us look at something else. So let us remove this particular thing. Suppose this was my original template, and let us remove one of the base pairs. That would be called as deletion. So suppose this one is getting deleted. Now please understand what is happening here. So now presume that A is not present. It has been deleted. This base pair has been deleted. Now what is going to happen? What would be the first codon? TAC. Then TTT, it remains same, then GGG. Now from the point of deletion, you can see that again the open reading frame will change. Now the next codon will actually be AAC. This would be the next codon, then CCC. This would be CCC, then TCA, and so on and so forth. So again we are saying that from the point of deletion, the open reading frame has changed. So if I add a base pair, or if I remove one base pair, then from the point of insertion or deletion, the open reading frame changes. So again I am saying, from the point of deletion or insertion, the open reading frame changes. Now let us see what happens if I add 2. So let us say I add 2 here, and this would be, let us say, C and C. Now what happens? Again you are seeing that TAC, TTT, GGG, again from the point of insertion, the open reading frame changes again, because the next codon now would be CCA, and next would be AAC. So I hope this is absolutely clear, and then would be CCC. Again you are saying that from the point of insertion, the open reading frame has changed. Same will be true if you can understand. Same will be true if I delete if I delete 2 base pairs, because then the first would be TAC, the second would be TTT, the third would be GGG. Again I have deleted 2 base pair, and the open reading frame changes. It becomes ACC. So it becomes ACC, and then the open reading frame changes from the point of deletion. So what we are seeing is a very, very important thing. If I add or delete, I should say, if I insert or delete 1 or 2 base pairs, then what happens? That from the point of insertion or deletion, the open reading frame changes. So this is called as a frame shift mutation. frame shift mutation. Now the word is self-explanatory. The open reading frame has shifted. This is what is called as frame shift mutation. This will be a very, very dangerous type of mutation, because you can easily understand the impact on the polypeptide that was to be formed from this particular template. There will be nothing actually so therefore they are very devastating. They are having very large scale effects. They are very dangerous type of mutations. Now finally, let me think, what happens if I add 3? So now if I add, let us say CCC, so I have added 3 bases. Now what happens? So if I have inserted 3 bases, it is not 1, it is not 2. I have already seen that insertion or deletion of 1 or 2 base pair actually changes the open reading frame from the point of insertion or deletion. This is what I already know. But what happens when I add 3 of them? Then let me write it. This would be TAC, TTT, GGG and CCC. Now please see, I have added one more codon. I have added one more codon, but the open reading frame actually remains the same. You can easily see what is happening here. The open reading frame actually remains the same, but it leads to the addition of one or more codons and hence one or more amino acids in the polypeptide. But the open reading frame does not change. So this will happen if it is 3 or multiple of 3. Then you will see that it will lead to the insertion of the codons and hence the messenger RNA codons and hence the number of amino acid, but the open reading frame does not change. Still the original, the next one is AAA. So it continues in a similar manner and the open reading frame does not change if we are looking at 3 or multiples of 3 bases to be inserted. Similarly, this would also be true for deletion of 3. If you delete these 3, what is going to happen? Again you will see that this would be TAC, TTT, GGG. One of this codon will be deleted, so the next is CCC, and therefore the open reading frame actually remains same. But there is one less codon and hence one less amino acid. Again this will be true for 3 or multiple of 3. So what we are looking for is a very, very important lesson here. So if I insert or delete 1 or 2 base pairs, then from the point of insertion or deletion the open reading frame changes. But when I do this with 3 or multiple of 3, either insertion or deletion, that will lead to incorporation or removal of the amino acids from the polypeptide chain, but the open reading frame does not change. This is a very, very, very important concept. So I am saying it again, if you are doing it with 3 or multiple of 3, insertion or deletion, so this may lead to incorporation of more or less amino acids in the polypeptide chain, but the open reading frame remains the same. So this, just think about it. Initially the geneticist knew that the genetic code has to be triplet. Now please understand what I am trying to say. What is the implication of this particular finding, that insertion or deletion of 3 or multiple 3 does not change the open reading frame? Let us look at the implications of this very important finding. So in the beginning the geneticist said that the genetic code must be a triplet code because we required many codons for coding 20 proteinogenic alpha amino acid. We know that triplet would mean 64 codons, where 61 code for amino acid and 3 are stop codons. So we have already discussed that. And this is a very, very important proof for that the genetic code has to be triplet. The implications are very, very simple. If you add 3, one more amino acid has been incorporated, but the open reading frame remains same. So the genetic code is triplet, and not only it is triplet, it is read in a contiguous manner. So this is how you read the genetic code. So this provides the proof for those things that we were supposing the genetic code has to be triplet and is read in contiguous manner, and the frame shift mutations where there was actually no change in the open reading frame by the insertion and deletion of 3 or multiple of 3 does not change the open reading frame. This gives us the proof that the genetic code must be triplet and read in a contiguous manner. I hope you have understood the mutations very well. Now we are absolutely ready to understand the actual process of translation. We now know everything before we want to proceed to translation, and from the next videos I will discuss the exact process or the procedure of the process of translation.